Before the Roman Empire was a thing, there was the Roman Republic. And before that, there was the Roman Kingdom. And, spoiler alert, none of this actually started in Rome. It started in Alba Longa, a nearby city that clearly didn't have the foresight to trademark its own destiny. The year is 771 BC. King Numitor is chilling on his balcony, enjoying the perks of absolute monarchy, when his younger brother, Amulius, decides he's due for a forced early retirement. Amulius stages a coup, kills Numitor's sons, and, in a move that screams, "I am the villain of this story," assigns Numitor's daughter, Rhea Silvia, to be a Vestal virgin. He figured, if she has no kids, I have no rivals. It was the ancient equivalent of changing the Wi-Fi password to keep the kids out of the living room. But then, a miracle. Rhea Silvia gets pregnant. She claims it was Mars, the god of war. Amulius rolls his eyes so hard, he probably saw his own brain. But the twins, Romulus and Remus, are born regardless. Amulius, not a fan of the divine intervention defense, has the babies tossed into the Tiber River. The basket drifts, hits a sandbank, and the twins are saved by a she-wolf. Yes, a wolf. We've gone from a political thriller to a furry fan fiction in under 5 minutes. The boys are eventually found by a shepherd who teaches them how to be human, which is a surprisingly difficult pivot after being raised by a canine. Once they grow up into absolute units of men, they find out about their royal heritage, storm Alba Longa, overthrow their uncle, and reinstate their grandfather. Mission accomplished, right? Wrong. Romulus and Remus are now addicted to the adrenaline of regime change. They decide to build their own city. They pick a spot near the Tiber, 7 hills, great views, prime real estate. But then, the sibling rivalry kicks in. They can't agree on which hill to build on. Instead of flipping a coin like civilized people, they decide to let the gods choose via augury, which is just fancy talk for staring at birds until you see enough of them to win an argument. Romulus claims he saw 12 vultures. Remus saw 6. Romulus starts building a wall. Remus, being a classic older brother, hops over it to mock him. Romulus, presumably having a very bad day, kills his brother. Rome is founded on a foundation of fratricide and poor conflict resolution. Rome starts as a refugee camp for the desperate. It's filled with runaway slaves, goats, and men who were definitely hiding from the law. The problem? They had 0 women. So, they invite their neighbors, the Sabines, to a festival, wait for everyone to get comfortable, and then kidnap all the women. It was the world's most aggressive Tinder date. The Sabine men eventually show up with pitchforks, but the women decide they've grown fond of their new kidnappers and force a truce. Rome cycles through 7 kings. The first was Romulus, who eventually vanishes in a storm, likely because he was too dramatic to just die of natural causes. Then came a religious king, a warmongering king, a city-planning king who built sewers, and a series of increasingly sinister tyrants. The 7th king, Tarquin the Proud, was such a disaster that the Romans finally snapped, kicked him out, and vowed to never have a king again. Thus, the Republic was born. They created a system with 2 consuls who could veto each other, basically a permanent stop-hitting-yourself loop. It was designed to prevent tyranny, but it mostly just ensured that government meetings were loud, sweaty, and unproductive. Then came the villain arc. The Gauls sacked Rome, burned it, and made the Romans pay a gold ransom. The Romans took this personally. They went from a local tribe to a hyper-militarized machine that viewed conquest as a personality trait. They crushed their neighbors, then turned their eyes toward Carthage. The Punic Wars were essentially a 3-part blockbuster movie. Rome had no navy, so they stole a Carthaginian ship design, slapped it together, and won. Then Hannibal showed up with elephants and crossed the Alps, a logistical nightmare that would make a modern GPS weep. Rome eventually won that, too, because they were functionally incapable of knowing when to quit. They leveled Carthage, salted the earth, and then looked around for the next thing to conquer. By the time Julius Caesar marches into Gaul, Rome is essentially a teenager with an unlimited credit card and a tank. Caesar dismantles the tribes of France with such efficiency that he makes the previous kings look like hobbyists. Rome wasn't just a city anymore. It was a hungry, unstoppable force of nature, convinced that the only way to be safe was to own everything in sight. And honestly, given how they started, Maybe they were right.